Okay, let's dive right into a really powerful piece of text today, Psalm chapter 51.
Yes, it's quite something. Very raw, very direct about seeking mercy and, well, transformation.
Absolutely. And reading these verses, what strikes me is just how honest it is, you know? It maps this journey from need to purpose, and it really challenges some common ideas.
It definitely does, especially around what spiritual devotion actually looks like according to this text.
So let's start right at the top. The opening is this immediate, almost desperate plea, isn't it?
It is. It calls directly on God's character, unfailing love, great compassion.
And asks point blank to blot out my transgressions.
Right. But it's more than just erasing something. The language digs deeper, asking to be fundamentally cleansed.
Wash away all my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin. That's very thorough language.
It is. And there's this sense it's not just a one-off mistake. It mentions my sin is always before me, like a constant awareness, a burden.
Which leads to that line that always jumps out, against you, you only have I sinned. What's the significance of framing it that way?
In the context here, it places the offense primarily in the divine relationship, even if others were affected. It sort of elevates God's perspective as the ultimate one.
Reinforcing that God is proved right when you speak and justified when you judge.
Exactly. And then there's that other layer, the part about being sinful at birth, which adds this sense of deep-rooted brokenness.
So, given all the intense awareness, the confession, it makes sense that the next step is this strong desire for cleansing. And the imagery used is quite striking.
Very vivid, it uses ancient symbols. Cleanse me with hyssop, and I will be clean. Wash me, and I will be whiter than snow.
Hyssop was used in purification rites, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
Yeah.
So it grounds the plea in something concrete, a known practice for purification, even if it feels a bit distant to us now.
But it doesn't just stay with, like, ritual cleansing. It moves inward fast.
Precisely. That's the core of it, really. The prayer becomes, create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me.
So it's not just about being cleaned up, it's about being made new, a recreation.
Yes, a fundamental internal shift. And linked to that is this deep longing for joy and connection to return. Let me hear joy and gladness, and specifically, restore to me the joy of your salvation.
And the fear of losing that connection is palpable too, right? Do not cast me from your presence or take your Holy Spirit from me.
Absolutely, that divine presence and spirit are clearly central to the restoration being sought.
Okay, so after this deep internal work, the focus it seems to shift outward a bit.
It does. The transformation isn't just for personal comfort. There's a purpose described. Then I will teach transgressors your ways, and sinners will turn back to you.
So the renewed person becomes a guide for others.
That's the idea presented here. And the mouth, which perhaps confessed sin earlier, is now intended to declare your praise.
And then comes a really surprising part, especially after all this talk about sin and needing restoration, the part about sacrifice.
Yes, it's quite counterintuitive, isn't it? You'd almost expect a call for, major offerings. But the text states, you do not delight in sacrifice. You do not take pleasure in burnt offerings.
So what is acceptable then, according to this psalm?
It points inward again. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit. A broken and contrite heart, O God, you will not despise.
Wow. That feels like the absolute core message here about what truly matters, the internal posture, humility, genuine remorse over the external act.
Exactly. It reframes the whole idea of acceptable offering. And it's interesting, the psalm does end by broadening out, praying for the community, for Zion and Jerusalem.
Suggesting this personal journey connects back to the wider community's well-being and worship.
Right. It's not purely individualistic.
So looking at these verses as a whole, we've traced this arc from a desperate cry for mercy based on God's love through this intense confession and plea for deep internal cleansing,
Leading to a renewed purpose to influence others, and culminating in this profound insight about what true offering looks like, that internal state of being broken and contrite.
It's quite a journey packed into one psalm.
Definitely.
And maybe a final thought for you listening to consider from this text. It suggests the most valued offering is a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. What might that actually mean in practice? How does that idea sit with maybe more common ways we think about seeking forgiveness or demonstrating devotion, something to mull over?